On July 30, 2026, between 2,000 and 3,000 African migrants stormed the Spanish border enclave of Ceuta. They swam around the breakwater on inflatable inner tubes. They broke through border gates. 9 people died. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez deployed the military. The Interior Ministry doubled the Guardia Civil presence. But here's the question nobody's answering clearly: why now? Ceuta is a Spanish exclave on the northern coast of Africa. 18.5 square kilometers. Population 85,000. Together with Melilla, these two cities represent the European Union's only land border with Africa. If you can get into Ceuta, you're in Spain. And if you're in Spain, you're in the Schengen zone, 29 European countries with no internal border controls. In May 2021, more than 10,000 people entered in just 48 hours. But 2026 is different. Earlier in July, Spain's Supreme Court made a landmark ruling. Migrants intercepted at sea while trying to reach Ceuta or Melilla cannot be summarily returned. Hot returns can only apply to people caught on the border fences themselves. If you swim around the fence and reach Spanish territory by sea, you get a full asylum process. The Guardia Civil spokesperson put it bluntly: it has been a slow trickle since the Supreme Court's ruling, but today has been an explosion. Smuggling networks immediately exploited the loophole. But there's a second factor. Spain's socialist government recently launched a program to grant legal status to approximately 500,000 undocumented migrants already in the country. The government insists this amnesty is not the cause. But Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani disagrees. He wrote, "The images coming from Ceuta show how the Madrid government's decision to grant Spanish citizenship to over 500,000 irregular immigrants is profoundly wrong and encourages human trafficking." Spain's foreign minister fired back, calling it improper for a partner country. Behind the politics, there's a human catastrophe. 60 migrants have died attempting to cross into Ceuta in recent months. 25 bodies were recovered in just the last week. Emergency services declared themselves overwhelmed. The head of the Guardia Civil Union in Ceuta said, "We don't know what to do. The situation is critical." This crisis has triggered a diplomatic firestorm. Italy's foreign minister called for Spain's suspension from the Schengen zone. "Irregular and uncontrolled immigration poses a danger to national security," he wrote. Spain summoned the Italian envoy in protest. An EU member state calling for another member's suspension from Schengen is unprecedented. But Ceuta wasn't the only flashpoint. In Melilla, clashes erupted at the Beni Ansar border point. At least 3 vehicles were set ablaze. Injuries were reported on both sides. Spain now faces a two-front crisis. So where does this go? Spain has deployed 60 troops and 200 specialized police. Interior Minister Grande Marlaska traveled to Ceuta. Prime Minister Sánchez promised an immediate response. But the police unions say more officers won't fix it. They're calling for reform of immigration legislation and bilateral readmission agreements with Morocco. The EU's new pact on migration and asylum came into effect on June 12, just 6 weeks before this crisis. 3 converging forces: a Supreme Court ruling, a mass amnesty program, and smuggling networks exploiting both, have created a perfect storm at Europe's southern border. The question now is whether Spain can contain it, whether the EU can hold together, and how many more will die before a solution is found. If you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe. I cover stories like this every week. Drop a comment: do you think Spain's amnesty program caused this crisis?